Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Trader's Mind Chat live show. Today, we've got some very important stuff to talk about, namely dealing with FOMO in trading. And given the kind of market environment that we're seeing right now, I had it up on the screen a moment ago. Let's share it again. You see how you have the S&P 500 and it's pushing towards highs, and you start to hear things on social media, maybe, or maybe you're seeing them in some of your own trades. You're seeing some heavy duty rallying in a few stocks, right? Let's take a look at some of these true market leaders, right? Go through some of these. Some of them, we were talking about, yes, some of them popped off the lows, right? There's a firm was starting to come off the lows there. It's Snow popped above its 50-day moving average yesterday. There's a number of them too. Here's one that I heard about, right? NVIDIA, right? The semis are rallying, right? There's all kinds of reasons why there might be some rallying going on. And maybe you might have seen AMD. There's the former markups from when I was trading it back here. But to take that out, and you're just looking at this, and you're starting to see the big, wide price action starting to move, right? If you are feeling this FOMO, this fear of missing out, you are not alone. So this session here, this is going to help you overcome that FOMO and really get a head start on doing it. And it's not just like one live stream and you're good for the rest of your life. No, like that. This is something that is continuously working on it, and it's something that I'm still working on too. And that's trading for 20 years. It's just like going to the gym, putting in those reps. So again, this is meant to be very interactive. So why don't you start off by typing into the chat, letting me know where you're watching this. If you're over on YouTube or Facebook, let me know. And also let me know some of the times that you tend to feel FOMO the most, that fear of missing out. Type some things into the chat. Let me know, when do you feel FOMO the most? Like, well, what are some of the things that trigger you? Is it seeing other people winning in the market and posting about it on Twitter or StockTwits or wherever you're watching it? Is it the news that causes FOMO? That's another big one. Is it seeing price action like what we saw over here? Right, like where you start to see some of the names that maybe you've been tracking for a while start to rally, and you're worried that you're going to miss the boat. Is it something like that? Take a moment or two, type into the chat. Let me know what types of things uh, cause you to fear FOMO, cause you to fear that fear of missing out. I'm going to talk about all this stuff, and we're going to talk about ways that you can combat these fears and start to get over them. So type into the chat, let me know. Mentioned a couple already. One of them is price moving quickly and volatile conditions. So looking at something like this, or we could pop back over to, say, the S&P, look at the major indices, and this is one that I started to hear about. That this day here yesterday, follow through day, right? Any of you here can slim practitioners or reading that kind of trading style, right? I'm very familiar with it. I was a IBD meetup leader in New York City for about a decade, so I definitely have had my experience with Can Slim and the follow through day, and important stuff to know. But if uh, that's one of the things that you're seeing too, and the philosophy of the follow through day, let me know that. Type that into the chat. Yeah. Um, Part of the philosophy of that follow through day is that when the market bottoms and it stops going down, you start to look for an up day on heavier volume than the day before it, and it needs to move at least 1.2%. Well, you have that right here on the S&P, right? Yesterday, price ran 1.5%, and if you're looking at this down here, that's some pretty heavy duty volume. Well, that's just one part of the story, right? You might be looking at that and you might say that, yeah, wow, like I need to buy something, right? Like that's what it says in How to Make Money in Stocks. Buy something on a follow through day, and so maybe you're going through and you're looking at your Nvidias, your AMDs, trying to find like, well, what stocks are there, and it's those types of things, and it's that type of thing too that would cause a lot of FOMO in me when I was first studying Can Slim and reading up on how to make money in stocks and going through all that. And even while I was a leader in the meetup, right? You guys, if you're not familiar with my story, I found that meetup maybe about probably about 15 years ago at this point, like somewhere in that neighborhood, and went to that group, was very impressed with it, stuck with it for a year, and then was invited to be a presenter at that group. So for the first like few years of even being a presenter, yeah, still dealing with heavy duty FOMO because of this follow through day concept and the notion that like, oh yeah, you're supposed to buy something. Well, that can create a lot of fear that, uh-oh, I'm going to miss the boat, right? So price and volatile conditions. What are some of the other things that tend to trigger FOMO in you? Well, we'll talk about all the different ways on how to combat this stuff, but give me some other ways that you are triggered by FOMO. Another big one is, what are people talking about on social media? All right, others talking about X. I'm not going to shout or call anybody out on social, right? I'm not going to bring up my Twitter feed, but um, well, when you start to see people posting about like, um, I'm in X, Y, and Z trade, and this one is moving this way, and oh, you should do this, right? Like if you ever hear people start to say that you should, it's time to take a step back too, and that's that was a lesson that I learned the hard way early on, too. A, a lot of very well-meaning, very well-intentioned people will tell you that you should do X, Y, and Z. This is a great trade, and here's why. Well, that's speaking from their perspective. So unless if somebody is speaking to more of a general of we should, right, like that, then it's time to listen. But if others talking on the news, social media, the newspaper, wherever, like those are the types of things that can really trigger that fear of missing out. So again, like step one of dealing well with this FOMO, what we're doing here, asking these questions, it's generating awareness of all the different things that can trigger us. So let's see. Looks like we've got our first comment in here. Oh, it's Matt. Welcome, Matt. Matt is one of our newest elite members. Welcome, Matt. Yeah. So talking about FOMO and some of the things that can trigger FOMO. So. Um, yeah, type into the chat. Let me know. Well, what are some of the things that can trigger FOMO? Um, what are some of the things that can trigger FOMO? Another popular one, right? Like the again, and each of these things here that I've mentioned so far, right? So price moving very quickly and feeling like, oh, you have to go and do something. Maybe your system tells you, right? Like, or a system that you adopted from somebody else, like Can Slim with the follow through day. You have to buy something on the follow through day, or at least that's what I thought. Well, when I first started out with it, and that caused a little bit of fear of like, oh, I better act now or else I'm going to miss out. Other Looking at what other people are doing, right? Like kind of like if you remember grade school, like kind of checking over what what your neighbor is doing and seeing like, uh-oh, well, what are my results going to be? Is that kind of stuff. And then there's this here. And I've dealt with all these things personally too. And that's why I'm mentioning them here. A feeling of being underprepared, right? And so let's say you wake up and all of a sudden you're looking at the pre-market. I saw the pre-market this morning. The pre-market, the S&P had gapped up to the higher than it is right here, right? Let me bring up the SPY. Maybe it shows up a little bit better on SPY, but yeah, no, not really. Not really. SPY is about in line with this here. Yeah, it didn't make a high. Oh, interesting. On SPY, clearly made a high over here uh, on the actual index, but not on the SPY. Anyway, yeah, so when I was looking pre-market, like price was already gapping up to all-time highs. And if you are underprepared, you might feel like, uh-oh, I'm missing the boat. And it's the under preparation that, like, if you didn't do your evening routine, or if you don't have an evening routine, or if you don't have a pre-market routine or some kind of routine, some kind of a system that is going to get you prepared for the trading day, then you might feel underprepared. And that under preparation is the thing that's causing the FOMO. Let's see, looks like we've got a few more comments coming in. Um, let's see. Here's a good one from Matt. Well, let's read this. Sometimes I will have the feeling of FOMO because I want to erase losses, maybe caused by a losing streak. Oh yeah, wanting to play catch up. That's a real good one. Yeah, and that can be exacerbated by hopping on social media and seeing what other people are doing. And if somebody else is posting their gains and talking about, oh, this trader is great, then that could also make us feel, uh-oh, like I want to catch up, I want to be doing better, I'm falling behind, right? Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Matt. Yeah, like that's something that's huge too, right? Like losing streaks, right? I'm gonna add that to my notes over here. Losing streaks are a big one, and we'll discuss dealing with that too. Losing streaks. Thank you. All right. Any others? Any others before we move on? So again, well, we spoke about this one from Matt here, with losing streaks and being exacerbated by what people are talking about on social media. We spoke about others talking about X, right? And that could really be like just fill in the blank, and it could be coming from anywhere from social media to news to your neighbor or a friend. Um, and then, yeah, just in general, price moving very quickly. Like maybe you are uh, on the ball and you start to see price moving and jumping and it starts to get very volatile. And it's like, uh-oh, let me hop on this trend before I miss out. Let's see, one more thing from Matt. Also, when my mindset shifts from understanding the market will give you more to choose from every day, thinking this one might be my last chance for a while. Yeah, that's another one too. But my last chance for a while. Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Uh, so we'll jot that one down too. So last chance for a while, and we're going to talk about strategies and tactics to deal with each one of these. That's a fabulous one. All right. So some of the ways to combat FOMO, right? So here's some of my personal favorite ways, and we'll go through each of these. So the ways to combat FOMO are through our preparation, our affirmations, and our actions. The We'll focus on those three for this live stream. There, like we could do an entire course on this. In fact, there's a Mindset of Steel course over on MaraWealth.com. Well, let me show you that. The course is free. It's free for now. It may not be free for forever, but if you hop on over to MaraWealth.com and you click this, there's a Mindset of Steel course that you could go through, and it'll walk you through. Like there's about an hour worth of video content in that. Kind of insane that given away for free, but for right now, it's free. So go check that out. Anyhow, combating FOMO, the fear of missing out, through preparation, through affirmations, and through action. So I'll share with you some of the things that I do to help prepare, and what some of the process is, and maybe you might pick up a couple of nuggets that you might want to add into your preparation. So kick things off. The way that I prepare for the market, it starts with two. There's two different routines. There's a weekend routine and a daily routine. So I'll walk you through both of them. High level overview. So on the weekend, I'll share my screen. Let's flip them back and forth. For any of you that have come to our weekly masterminds, Matt, your first one will be this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. I still need to post it in the Discord. I'll do that after we hop off this live stream here. But yeah, so every weekend there's a mastermind, and we're going through this whole process. And the process is basically taking a look at we start with the major indices, right? So what I like to do is take an overall assessment of where is the quote unquote market at, and there's multiple parts of the market. I'm doing it based off of looking at data and my own observation and tracking stuff, and all that stuff is into this spreadsheet. So that's the system. That's a system that I have built for myself over more than a decade of hardcore being in trading. I've been trading for over 20 years, but like really getting super serious about it, about 15 at this point. So taking all the data points that I'm interested in, and just looking at that, and as far as systems go, the important thing for a system is not just what's baked into the system, it's that anything that's not in the system is noise, right? So what Joe Schmo said on Twitter, my apologies, Joe Schmo, but well, what Joe said on Twitter, not important, right? Because it's not a part of the system. What Aunt Sally said, not a part of my system. So, like, while I can value Aunt Sally, while I could love Aunt Sally, it's not a part of my trading system. So, it's not something that should be inducing any kind of fear, right? And as far as our systems go, as we trade our system, as we test our system, as we get results from our system, we gain more and more confidence in it, and we don't need to worry about like, oh, like something like I'm missing the boat here, right? Because we have confidence in what we're doing. Um, so high level overview of what I'm doing here, and then I'll hop back into the chat and answer a couple of questions. So looking at the monthly timeframes, weekly timeframes, daily timeframes, and seeing which way are the major indices moving. Are they moving up, down, or sideways? That's giving me an initial flavor of the market. From there, I'm tracking the number of distribution days in the market. Any of you guys familiar with distribution days, or what the heck that even means? A distribution days, I'll tell you what it is real quick. A distribution day is a down day on the index. So let me show you over here. We've got a few of them flagged on the S&P. So it's any down day on the index of at least minus 0.2% or more on heavier volume than the day before it. And the reason why that's important is because it's pointing towards institutional selling in the market. And when you start to rack up a lot of distribution, it can start to cause some choppiness or cause the market to roll over. Like at this point, actually need to move this one over, right? So that's keeping the count for the last uh, 25 days, right? So 25 and today is 12/16 and today is 12/16. So I like to look at it over the past 25 and the past 10. So that way I could see how many distribution days there are. Is the count getting very heavy? So like right now, over the past 10 days, there's 3 distribution days on the S&P. So I'm keeping track of that. And then I'm looking at the trade setups, right? So I build my universe list, right? So I'm not screening, I'm not looking at all 10,000 stocks. I'm not willing to trade all 10,000 stocks in the market. I only want to trade a very select few. And in my universe, right now, I'll tell you, there's only 346 stocks that pass my criteria. I only want to trade those. If those are setting up in actionable patterns that I believe are high quality patterns based on a set criteria. Um, that's all I want to trade. And you can see here, like this weekend, only 37 ideas. So only about 10% of the list setting up. That's not a lot. And of those setups, so far, less than a third of them are, you know, profitable on the week. I didn't trade any of them, right? Because I looked at all of them and was like, oh, these are mostly C, mostly C. Yet last night, they were all C level trades. That's not the kind of crap that I want to get into, right? Like I want A level trades in a strong environment. I might be willing to take a B level trade, but a C level trade in a cruddy environment, right? Like it's like okay, let's go ride a bicycle in a tornado, right? Like probably not the best idea. So, so I take all this stuff and I allow this to speak to me, and that's how I'm doing my preparation on the weekend. And there's a mini version of this that I do each day and look for setups and things like that. I'm literally allowing the market to speak to me versus going on the news, reading other people's reports or social media or uh, price moving like volatile price conditions. Like so, if price is moving quickly, right? And here's a great example. Let's pull up NVIDIA. Hate to pick on my friends that are tracking the semis and were saying that, oh yeah, the semis are leading the way, but this is kind of well, what happens in these kind of market conditions. So what happened here? Strong, or like I shouldn't say strong like that. That's like a decent low, right? Like so. This is Nvidia. Price was coming down. It kissed the 50-day moving average and it rallied on the day and it closed relatively near the high of the day. Great place to stop. But if you're looking to buy this, then is there any level of overhead supply? Like, might you run into sellers? And I look at this chart and I think, well, yeah, you have these shorter term and even the intermediate term moving average, that 21 EMA, that purple one, they're all curved down, right? So that tends to act like a ceiling where sellers tend to show up. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we can't rally. It just means that we're likely to hit some ceiling. Then you get a day like yesterday, and volume is elevated again, and you close at the top of the range, and now you're back above all the moving averages. And that's where, for a lot of people, that fear tends to start to kick in. But if you do have a system, and if you look at this, and if this action here is not a part of your system, right? Like if that's not a setup in your system, then okay, it's just price action, right? Like there will be one of the biggest affirmations, right? And Matt, you're going to hear this come out of my mouth a lot, especially in the elite program. And it's this: the market is an infinite stream of opportunity. Right? Like that's one of my personal core beliefs. It's something that I write on a piece of paper every single day. And the reason why is because I want to plant that seed deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into my mind. So that way, when I should that fear ever pop up, right? And it's not that fear is just like we'll never have any of these thoughts again. Like if somebody is trying to tell you that, like they're trying to, it's incorrect, and maybe there's some ulterior motive there, but it's about dealing with the emotions and the thoughts when they come up. We have, I think it was something quoted like over 10,000 thoughts a day or something like that. If we're having 10,000 thoughts a day and well, we have negative thoughts in there, that some of them are going to get past the goalie, right? So, what do we do to help combat that? One of the things, preparation, right? Spoke about that for a while. Then the affirmations. Come up with your own affirmations, and that's going to help you too. I see a lot of stuff coming into the comments. Let me pop up in the comments here and see what we got. All right, lots of stuff from Matt. Matt, you're breaking the ice here. It's great. I have some other people in here that's live too. Like I want to see everybody participating. The more that you participate in this, especially this stuff on mindset, the more that you're actively participating, the more that you are going to get out of it. So Matt, I love that you're participating. Keep on participating. Hopefully you'll spark the interest of everybody else to participate more. But yeah, like type into the chat. Yeah, be active. Don't be a passive listener. Be an active listener. Be active. Type something in. Say hello. All right. Um, let's see here. I'm just going through some of the chat. Uh, and there's a thumbs up. Failure to prepare. One of my favorite Ben Franklin quotes. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Ben Franklin. He posted this back on November 18th. Very good. Very good. Paying attention. Have to pick on my phone. Haha. Yeah, that's a really great one. Yeah, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So how do we prepare? Right? How do we prepare? How do we? So here, this is a good point too, because this is how sometimes over ambitious people can sometimes try to over prepare, and so they think that they're doing themselves a service by trying to get everything in the kitchen sink and being aware of it all, and that leads to FOMO. Well, the problem with that, and I've quoted this study a couple of times, or at least the source, right? Um, the source is Adam Robinson. Definitely worth a follow on Twitter. The handle is I am Adam Robinson. He's the guy that came up with what is it? It's the Princeton Review. He was interviewed a couple of times by Tim Ferriss. He's in Tim's book, Tribe of Mentors. And he's written a couple of other books too. One of the things that he quoted in Tim's book is this study done back in, I believe it was the 70s. It was with horse racing. And he said that with horse racing, what they did was they took these people that were making their living off of gambling on horses, and they said, okay, pick 10 random horses and we'll see how you do, right? And so they were right about 1 out of 10 times what you would expect. Then they gave them 5 pieces of information, and they're like, take any 5 pieces of information that you want. So some people wanted the height and weight of the jockey. Some people wanted like the last couple of races that the horse ran, all different things, but anything that they wanted. And so that increased their winning percentage to about 17%, right? So they went from 10 to 17. So 70% increase with 5 pieces of information. Pretty good. Then they went and they asked them, well, how accurate do you think that you'll be with these 5 pieces of information before they got the results, of course? They ended up being 19% accurate. So they thought they were actually 17% accurate, and they were 19. They thought that they would be 19% accurate. So pretty good calibration to what they thought that they would be and what they actually were. Then they gave them another 10 pieces of information, another 20, up to 40 pieces of information. And what do you think happened? Right? Well, what do you think happened? Type into the chat. What do you think happened? What happened was this: they plateaued. They plateaued at the 5 pieces of information. They plateaued at that 17% win rate. But as they got more and more and more and more information, their confidence level went through the roof. So when your confidence is high, you start betting heavier and heavier and heavier, and their results started to go the other way. So, what's the moral of the story? Too much information is a bad thing. So, to back to Matt's point here, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Absolutely 100% true. I love that quote. Love Ben Franklin. For the people that tend to over prepare, right? We want to have a clear system of what it is that constitutes preparation and sticking to that. We could do a whole show on preparation as well. All right. Great stuff, Matt. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. So we've got preparation, we've got affirmations, and then we've got action. So what kind of actions do we need to take? What kind of actions do we need to take? One of the actions, right? It's not just saying it. When we're talking about affirmations, it's not just saying it, right? It's one thing to think it, right? Like that. That's good. That's a start. It's another thing to say it. It's another thing to have the daily habit of writing these things out. It's another thing to, if you're just starting out, to have some of these things on the walls or wherever it's going to be visible to you. Now, a mistake that I made well when I first started with affirmations and this whole not just trading but like the personal development route a lot. Like I've gotten pretty deep into this stuff, if you can't tell. But um, one of the things that I would do, like I would have different affirmations up on the wall, and you know what happens to those? Tends to end up being like a pop up ad, right? Like do you even see the pop up ads on your screen, or the little banners like off to the side? No, right? Like if there's one right here on this, like if YouTube or wherever you're watching this, if you're watching this on Twitter, if like if there's some kind of an ad, like your brain just filters that stuff out, right? And that's what can happen too if we just have our affirmation and we post it somewhere. Maybe we see it for a little while, but it tends to become part of the noise. So that's why, well, one of the things that I suggest doing is actually taking a pen, taking some paper, and physically writing it before you open up your computer, right? Or like before you start your trading day, write out whatever your affirmation is going to be, whatever you want to put deeper into your mind. If you like the one that I write, great, use it. If you're like, oh, that sucks, great, pick out something else. There's some other really good ones too, that you could think of. Let's see. There's a few more stuff coming in. Keep it simple, stupid. That's a good one. Oh, one of the things that we want to be aware of with affirmations too is negativity in the affirmation. We want to be uh, conscious of the words that we select. So, a fantastic book for you guys. If you have not read this book yet, not a trading book, but also goes along the lines of the personal development route, is this book called The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements by Miguel Don Ruiz. Fantastic book. One of the first things that's spoken about in that agreement is being impeccable with your word and not using the word against yourself. The reason why is because if you have something like that as an affirmation, keep it simple, stupid. Like it sounds like, yeah, like I heard this from when I was a toddler, but it's something as simple and as seemingly innocent as that. You're basically calling yourself stupid, and you're reinforcing that over and over and over and over again. And then if you're in a trade and you start to think like, oh, like, well, why the hell did I do that? I'm so stupid. Well, hey, you just reinforced it about 100 times, right? Or a few hundred times. So we want to be very, very careful with the words that we select for ourselves. And if that's something that you're doing now, though, like that, we want to be gentle. We want to be kind to ourselves too. That's something else that I just posted it in the uh, elite Discord. One of the discussions that we were having, and part of the reason why too, like we want to be gentle, we want to be kind to ourselves, we want to be kick. If we're going to kick ourselves, we want to make sure that we kick ourselves forward, not down. Right? All this stuff that I'm talking about, like all things that I've done myself and have overcome. Right? Like so, I used to call myself stupid and beat myself up for years. For years, like I had a major stuttering problem when I was a young kid. It lasted into high school years. Uh, here's a story. Here's an embarrassing story for you guys. So, our high school had this thing called Visitation Day. Visitation Day was this day where uh, a couple of underclassmen, right? So at the time I was a sophomore, we would go to a couple of elementary schools and basically pitch our school to those younger kids. So I go there and I still have my stuttering problem. I was starting to get over it, but I write out the speech. Thought it was good, so I'm standing in front of the class, reading my speech word for word for word, and uh, I sit down. Right, good enough job. Next person gets up, gives this fantastic speech, no paper, just speaks from the heart. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I want to do that. So we go to the next school, and I'm thinking through my head, well, what I'm going to say. I'm trying to memorize it. I get up, I get through about 10 seconds of it, completely blank. Completely blank for what feels like an eternity, and I'm sweating bullets. I quickly pull the paper out of my bag, read it as fast as you possibly can, and sit back down. And then I have all these little sixth graders, right? Like I'm in high school, all these little sixth graders sitting there snickering and laughing. And one of the more embarrassing things, and looking back to like if I were to have a time machine and go back in time and tell that kid that he would be doing this for a living right now, like, oh my God. But it's getting past those kind of things that, like, I could, back then, one of the things that I was reinforcing to myself was that I have a bad stutter. I am dumb. I can't speak in public. Now, all these kinds of things. And if you're continuously reinforcing those things, if you continue to focus on those things, then it can be end up being a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we want to be very, very careful with the words that we select for ourselves. Um, yeah, so let's see what else. But yeah, keeping it simple it is a great, great, great idea. We always want to keep our things simple. Just drop off the leave off the last desk for savings, right? Well, what was that mattress commercial? Anyway, it's those types of things like we could really go on for a lot longer. Like this could be a full seminar, and even that mindset of steel course, that free one that I just put out, like that. That's still like that's I consider it to be the tip of the iceberg. So like this live stream is like the tippy top, but like it's in us working together and doing that kind of stuff. Like you continuing your journey, like that that's what's going to really help you and continue to drill this stuff, make it a daily practice, make it a daily habit. It's our habits that help us, yeah, things like fear, things like here's another example. Going on your phone and seeing like, oh well, like let's say I'm bored, right? And so this is one of the habits that I'm actually working on myself is to reduce, right? I'm a part of my job is being a social media influencer, but to reduce my time on social media because I do it too, right? Like just when I'm ready to take a break, to just like sit there, scroll through social media, see what's going on, see like what some of the people that I like are saying, and it's like it's a habit, right? And then you can start to see like, well, how much time do I actually end up spending on these things? And the algorithms are built to like give you more of what keeps your attention, and so your attention tends to gravitate towards them. So it's in building it's like the habits, right? Like so generating awareness of what our habits are, and then seeing, well, what habits do I want, what are the habits that will take me to where I want to go, what habits do I have that might be holding me back? What habits do I want to break? So, in that story that I was just telling you about with the social media, one of the habits that I want to break is to spend less time on social media. So, how am I going about doing that? To have specific blocks of time for just dedicated for when am I going to check this stuff? To not check it while I'm eating, right? Like, so if I'm snacking on something, if it's like at breakfast or lunch or something like that, dinner is like dedicated family time, like that's sacred. But like those other times to, yeah, like no social media, no scrolling on the phone, like make that a rule and like start to make that a habit. And then once you have a habit set, it tends to be easier to follow that habit. So don't try to do too many habits at once, right? So some little parting advice while we start to wrap this up here. Don't try to take on too much at once. What tends to happen often to high achievers, what I'll see is that they try to take on too much at once, right? Like, so you hear stuff like this, and it's just like, yeah, like I'm super gung ho, let's go, let's do it, and like try to crush everything too fast, and like you start to gain a little bit of traction, but you are doing too many things too fast, and it's almost like trying to sprint and juggle 10 balls at once. Like I've seen a juggler run a marathon, but if you even that juggler was like doing it with like either 2 or 3 balls, running marathon. If you're trying to sprint and you've got 5, 7 balls going like that, that's too much, right? So, try to the more that you're able to focus on, a habit at a time, the better. The it I would suggest no more than 3. Like, if you're doing, like, 3 simple habits, okay, fine. If you're trying to do, like, something major that you find very challenging, the more focus you're able to give that one thing, the better. All right. So, um, yeah, Matt's saying that he does the same thing though with social media. Uh, all right, guys. I think that's all the time that we have. Yeah, Matt, I appreciate all the great comments today. Thank you for engaging and being a part of this and keeping the chat going. Hopefully, next time we get more people on here that are engaging too. But yeah, you're inspiring other people. You're inspiring me. We're going to keep on doing these kind of live streams on YouTube. They're freaking fantastic. I love doing this stuff, and yeah, for anybody that's watching the recording of this later on, drop comments into the YouTube too. Like I'll check the comments on YouTube. I check them about once a week, but I always leave a reply to anything. So if you have questions, if you have other comments, you can do it there too. Matt, I'll see you on Discord. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you're in the Elite program, we have this separate Discord, right? So if you go to marawolf.com and you click on Elite membership, there's a page here that'll tell you all about it. One of the things is that you get this Discord chat room where, well, we're doing live group coaching multiple times a week, about 4 hours in total. Plus, you have access to myself. You have access to Stu, who is our other coach, who is freaking phenomenal. I'm learning so much from that guy all the time. And it's a fantastic community. So that's the best way to get a hold of me, best way to get a hold of the community. Go check it out. And that is it for the week. All right. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great day. Peace out, everybody. And become a part of the Mara Wealth community. And make sure that you check out some of the other videos on the channel. They're exactly what you need to see. And leave a comment down below. I read all of them. Leave a comment.